Good evening, all. Welcome to today's Cancer Healing Journey Talks. Myself, Annie Jose from Community Outreach Team of ZenOnco.io and Love Heals Cancer. Cancer Healing Journey Talks helps cancer survivors and caregivers to share their journey with vast number of survivors and caregivers who have traveled or been traveling through this journey. This can inspire and motivate them for their faster recovery as well. I would like to introduce today's speaker, Christopher Geal. He helps cancer survivors break the cycle of fatigue and low energy using the Breakout method. The Breakout method is a unique coaching experience like no other. So welcome to today's session, Christopher. Over to you.
Yeah, nice to be here. Thanks so much.
No problem. Yeah, so can you tell us about a little bit of what type of cancer it was and what stage when it got diagnosed?
Yeah, of course. So I was diagnosed in 2018, I think it was, with stage 3 colorectal cancer. So I was 38 at the time when I was diagnosed. And yeah, of course, no one expects to have cancer. But I had symptoms for a while. And when I got my scan, it was confirmed that I had cancer, and it was stage 3. And my treatment was about 12 months of chemo and radiation, and then surgery and everything in between.
All right. So what were the symptoms when it got diagnosed?
So the symptoms that I had was more kind of irregular bowel habits, I think. So different, a little bit of blood in my stool and that sort of thing. But I had those symptoms for quite some time, for a couple of years, and various doctors kind of said that I was too young and too fit for that type of cancer, until eventually my symptoms started to get worse. And finally, I went for a colonoscopy for a scan, and then literally within 10 minutes of having my colonoscopy, it was pretty clear that I had cancer by that stage, So yeah, I went into that colonoscopy thinking I had irritable bowel syndrome, and walked out with colorectal cancer. So it was quite a surprise, when it did happen. But I guess cancer diagnosis is a surprise to anyone, really. So it takes a bit of time to come to terms with it. But once my treatment process started, I started to accept what was happening, and then just went from there, I guess.
All right. So how was your first reaction when you came to know that you were diagnosed with cancer?
Yeah, I think about this sometimes, and I always describe this as ground zero, and that's really defined where everything in your life, everything how you planned your life or how you thought your life was going to turn out is effectively stripped away, there and then, and everything changes. And I think it can take a couple of weeks. It took me a couple of weeks anyway to really come to terms with what was happening to me at that point in time, because my odds, or I shouldn't say odds, but my survivability was a 50-50 is what the doctors told me at that time. I have young children, they were 5 and 7 at the time, and a wife. So you start to really, I guess it's like damage control, where you start thinking, about, my family and are they going to grow up without me, and all those sorts of things that you wrestle with when that happens. But I guess that took me a couple of weeks to work through. And then once I got to that point, I really had to think, right, how do I get through this? I need to get into this. So I've always been a pretty fit person, and healthy and that sort of thing. I run half marathons and marathons and that sort of thing. So I started to incorporate training into my treatment plan. Once I had my treatment plan, and I think it's the same with anyone, you have a set of objectives and goals that you need to do, and when your treatment starts and your appointments and all that sort of thing. So I started to kind of integrate that within my life, and I kept working all the way through my treatment. I kept training, like running all the way through my treatment. So it became, I guess, part of my life then. And once I made a start, I just worked my way through it and yeah, got to the end of it. So I think once I'd started, it wasn't as bad as what I thought it was going to be. But there's that couple of weeks at the start that is pretty hard,
So what about your family? How did they took the news?
I chose to be pretty inclusive with my children as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew they knew I had cancer, but they were probably too young to understand what that meant or the severity of it, but I didn't hide it from them. And my wife, who's just amazing, she as always, so we're together 20 years now. So it was just, Valerie supported me right the way through. And as a family, we really pulled together and got through it, so I had heaps of support from my family, not only my close family, but my wider family in general. So it felt like everyone was behind me. I had a lot of support, so it really helped a lot, so.
That's great. So, there are lots of stigmas going on around various types of cancers all around the world. So how much do you think regarding the importance of awareness?
Absolutely. And that's what you learn. Awareness is everything, and I guess timing is everything, with cancer as well, so I had symptoms, like I said, for the best part of 2 to 3 years before I was diagnosed. And I had it in my mind, for that type of cancer, I was too young, I was too fit, too healthy. Older people get that type of cancer. So really, it took me a long time to really understand that I needed to have a scan. And I think if people have better awareness, then they can take action sooner, I think. And it's so important because, timing is so critical. So it's good to see that there is an awareness starting to spread, particularly with my type of cancer, and particularly in the male population as well, with colonoscopies and that sort of thing. So I think it is gradually happening, but I think we still have a long way to go.
All right. So, what did you opt any alternative treatment like naturopathy or Ayurvedic treatment other than the conventional treatments?
Yes, I did. So, I like I said, I had my conventional treatment, and that saved my life, no doubt. But I did use complementary therapies, I guess, and it's important to note that they are complementary. They're not treatments in themselves, but I used cannabis oil and that sort of thing, and that was mainly not to get rid of my cancer, but it was mainly to manage the symptoms associated with chemotherapy and that sort of thing. So I used cannabis oil, and also my training and fitness really played an important part for me as well. So I stayed very active during my cancer experience. I tried to eat a healthy diet. So there was a number of things that I done that definitely helped, I would like to think helped the conventional treatment that I had.
So, can you talk a little bit about breakout method?
Yeah, so Breakout is really, when I work with cancer survivors, especially through the Breakout approach, it's really helping them understand how important their mind is when it comes to their cancer experience, especially with their own mindset. And that is very basics of it, that's helping to understand if a person sees their cancer journey as a catastrophe or an opportunity. And once we make that decision, we start to work through that understanding that there is opportunities that you can take from cancer. But don't get me wrong, cancer is a dreadful disease. I understand that, but there is things that we can take from that, particularly when it comes to a change of perspective, a change of approach to our life. There is a lot we can take from it versus cancer taking everything from us. Which is quite often the way that it happens. So mindset is a very important part of Breakout, and also coherence, and that is around people helping people understand mindfulness and how important it is, particularly with cancer survivors, particularly when it comes to meditation and breath work and other mindfulness-based strategies. So it really is multidisciplinary and a multifaceted approach to cancer or to helping cancer survivors, I guess, rather than the usual conventional therapy. I guess the usual conventional approaches that people take, with medication and pain relief and that sort of thing, in helping them understand that there is other ways, to complement their conventional treatment, particularly when it comes to their own mind, body, and soul.
All right. So, how was your experience with the doctors and the other medical staff?
It was very good. I was in Ireland at the time, in Dublin. So I'm originally from Western Australia, but I was living in Ireland at the time. And they were wonderful. Like, I can't fault them, So the people that looked after me were excellent, So I really felt very comfortable the whole way through my cancer experience. And I feel that I had the best possible outcome that I could possibly hope for with people that I was working with, I guess, and the approach that I took. So I consider myself to be very lucky.
That's great. So do you think cancer has changed you in a positive way?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I wouldn't be the person that I am today if it wasn't for cancer. Before I had cancer, I worked in a lot of corporate and leadership roles in big companies, and I had a lot of stress in my life and a lot of anxiety and those sorts of things, before cancer. But once you experience a cancer diagnosis, there comes a massive change of perspective in your life, where you really start to reevaluate what the priorities are in your life and start to focus on what's important. So absolutely. I mean, no one wants to have cancer, right? Let's be clear, but there's a lot that you can take from it. And like I said, really helped me reevaluate my life. Shortly after I'd finished my treatment, we moved to Spain, and where we live to this day. I coach cancer survivors and work with leaders across the world. So I'm delighted with my life, how it is now. And cancer is a big part of that. It's a big part of my life, so.
So did you join any support group during the treatment process?
No, I didn't. And I think I should have, in hindsight. Really, I kind of shouldered it myself with my own support family, with my own family and friends. So I felt very supported. But for solutions like therapy and that sort of thing, I probably didn't do that as much as I should have at the time. But my approach has always been kind of just get into it and get it done. So I had so much on at the time and had so much, I guess, to preoccupy myself with. I didn't really take time to explore other support processes like therapy and that sort of thing. I did after cancer, absolutely, but I didn't during the cancer journey, so.
All right. So what will be your message to the survivors and caregivers out there?
My main message is don't let your life revolve around cancer. Let cancer revolve around your life. So I see people, they get consumed by it, from as soon as they are diagnosed. And really, there's so much more that you can do with your life, whether you have cancer or not. Cancer is not a death sentence anymore. People have very good probabilities, very good outcomes. And really it is, you just got to take it as an opportunity to really change your life. You've been given this big wake up call when we do get a cancer diagnosis. So don't let it be the end, let it be the beginning, and really look what you can take from this. Absolutely. If you are someone who is on the cancer journey, it's important that you do your treatment and your conventional treatment, that sort of thing. But there's just so much more else that you can do. Outside of that, particularly when it comes to mindset, between mindfulness especially, and just really taking the opportunity to change your life for the better.
Yeah, that was great, Christopher. So one last question will be, if you have to sum up your journey in one whole sentence, what would that be?
Wow, that's a great question. If I could to describe my journey in one sentence, it would just be, it was life-changing. It was absolutely life-changing, my journey. And it changed my life for the better once I'd gotten to the other side of that. So that's the only way that I can describe my cancer journey, so life-changing.
That was really good. Thank you so much, Christopher, for being with us today. And I'm pretty sure that this session will really motivate survivors and caregivers out there. Once again, thank you so much.
No problem at all, Dimple. It was a pleasure. Have a great day.
You too.